Welcome to World Soul, my YouTube channel, which I've made to raise money in support for my campaign and legal battle against Methodist University for alleged retaliation against a whistleblower for reporting FERPA violations, which are federal privacy violations, to the NCDOJ and notifying multiple officials that I was doing so. Presume that everything henceforth is alleged. Understand that the email addresses shown are publicly published on the university's websites and are publicly facing knowledge, and that whether or not you like it, I am exercising my First Amendment right. My name is Daryl Latrell Vample. I'm a former graduate student for the Methodist University PA program who blew the whistle on a major privacy violation at Methodist University involving a diffuse breach of the PA program's class of 2025 Social Security information in my absence. Release of this information without both my consent or the consent of other students or authorization is a federal privacy violation under FERPA. Such a violation is objectively measured by Provost Malley's admission, who stated, "Dean Gronsky and I are aware of the situation in September with the PA instructor who mistakenly shared information that involves student social security numbers in one class. In our secure, password-protected Canvas learning management system, we know that the error was immediately addressed by removing the document and ensuring that all students who had access to it for a very short time had also fully deleted the document." Then she poorly attempts to proceed to insult my intelligence by stating there was no breach or leak of sensitive student data. It was not shared beyond the protected system. But once again, she states that it was shared, which is the threshold to me. I've heard from students who have reported a roughly 40-minute time span between the release of the information and intervention. That is not a short period. Never mind the period is negligible, as the fact that it was mistakenly shared by a PA instructor, as the provost stated, meaning without consent, undoubtedly constitutes a federal privacy violation and should by proxy activate the university's duty to notify affected students per the North Carolina Identity Theft Protection Act of 2005. A duty also tied to their obligation as a federally funded institution under FERPA. I have no obligation to keep that quiet before any proceeding, as it is public interest, and the privacy rights are not theirs but the students'. A lot of the students that I talked to didn't even know that they had these rights or that what the university did was a violation of those rights, because the university did not properly inform them of said rights. As I know, no formal notification has yet been issued to the students, even with the university having retained external counsel, as he is a sworn officer of the court and in tandem an officer of the law, and therefore such a duty extends to him by proxy, especially with a written admission of a privacy right breach in his possession. What followed my reporting was not accountability. It was what I personally believe to be a campaign of retaliation marked by silence, institutional failure, and a bad faith and mental health evaluation thrust upon me exactly one day after I notified multiple high-ranking officials that I had contacted the North Carolina Department of Justice. I have since brought legal action against the Methodist University to set a precedent for student rights. To refresh, I was dismissed within the span of 14 days after reporting the breach. Provost Malley, VP Walker, President Weirden, Dean Meredith Gronsky, and Senior Counsel Greg Swanson. And also after making them aware of my reporting to the NCDOJ. They would eventually figure out that I owned this anonymous account. Now, last time we spoke, we recounted in a general sense some of the events that have led me to where I am today. We're going to turn away from all that for a second to provide both my public supporters and GoFundMe donors with an update here and once more reinforce my credibility. As of August, Methodist University has filed a motion to dismiss. It's basically an attempt to scrap some of my damages and the lawsuit, which will likely end up buying the university more time to avoid answering the lawsuit. They've already had 60 days. Now, the motion to dismiss is a natural course of litigation. While I question why the university filed that instead of an answer to the lawsuit after having a total of 60 days to respond, it is their right to file one. Personally, to me, this comes across as a 60-day stall after having an extension granted and then simply asking to dismiss the case without putting the university's facts on records first. Keep in mind that both a motion to dismiss and an answer can be filed in parallel, right? Whoever is spearheading the university's legal strategy or making decisions for the institution has simply opted to file a 4-page motion to dismiss alone, right? After a total of 60 days. I'm gonna say that in my opinion, it appears as if the one out of the many cruxes of my argument within the lawsuit, specifically the one alleging retaliation for reporting a diffuse social security number breach, followed by a 14-day dismissal timeline, does not appear to be properly addressed within. The core of my concerns at this moment, however, rests with the public-facing nature of the university's recent comments in an article by City View Fayetteville regarding the Cape Fear Valley School of Medicine, running concurrently with the lawsuit written by Bill Kirby Jr. Now, interestingly enough, the board chair of Methodist University, Dr. Gupta, has become quite the vocal face during active litigation. Now, he has every right to have quotes threaded in articles, as I do to voice my own opinion on the matter. I would say that a lot of the decisions, or lack thereof, which have been made throughout the timeline of events have absolutely boggled my mind. And in my perspective, it appears that I'm tussling more against legacy rather than facts. especially with the emergence of this article. And it doesn't seem like the university is concerned with addressing the active danger of what's occurring within their PA program, and is more concerned with homing in on their medical school project of the future. As we'll see in a minute, they are both intertwined. One of my main concerns after reading this article is the welfare of the donors of the Methodist University Medical School. If the duty to inform was already preceded in my absence, then I commend Methodist University. I am simply just informing the donors again, right? There was active litigation between me and the university with 24 exhibits filed alleging retaliation for my reporting of the federal privacy breach, in which the admission by the Provost Malley itself has been filed as well. All of this is public facing, it's not conspiracy, it's objective, and I invite them to deny it. In addition, a complaint to the LCME has been filed within the lawsuit as well. It's not to tread their neutrality, it's to ensure that all parties are informed and are adherent to the duty and responsibility they have set forth for themselves in both their ethics standards and regulatory governance. And make no mistake, I have and always will ensure that all parties remain informed as a matter of transparency. Whether or not you hear their voices, no one's muffling information. And just because gates appear closed, it doesn't mean sound isn't seeping through the cracks. Having those facts, it does confuse me as to why Dr. Gupta is stating so proudly that the school is on track and racing ahead when regulatory bodies are neutral and they haven't even voted on the matter yet. In contrast, the dean of the medical school, Hershey Bell, is stating that we prepared the best we can and the rest of the decision is up to the LCME. Decision of accreditation rests with the LCME, not the responsibility of the institution to maintain compliance with regulatory standards of governance. So let's not preemptively shuffle responsibility on the matter should things not go your way. I must say that no one is ignorant or uninformed, but I am glad that Dr. Gupta is owning his role as what the article describes as being the vision behind the medical school, and also feels so emboldened to essentially endorse the executives who are a part of the paper trail of my reporting of the Social Security number breach, President Weirden and Provost Malley, as being excited for the new project. Is this the position of Methodist University's board or simply the board chair alone? How deep does this rabbit hole go? I have many questions. Put these two side by side. A. Dr. Gupta's comments regarding the medical school venture, which he's quoted as saying the university faculty and the provost Susan Blum Malley, President Weirden, and the founding dean Dr. Hershey Bell could not be more excited. And B. The provost admitting that Social Security information was mistakenly shared by a PA program instructor in one class. A, B, A, B, A, B, B, A. In addition, the Dean of Health Sciences, Dean Gronsky, the PA Program Director, April Martin, the VP of Student Affairs, VP Walker, the Associate Dean of Student Affairs, Dr. Bobbitt, were included on this email, showing they were all knowledgeable. And yet they have articles out in July, though I filed the lawsuit in June, of Dr. Bobbitt in Good Morning Fayetteville radio shows. Is this a serious issue to the university, or is this just something that just flick off to the side and deal with later? I would assume that federal privacy violation should be at the top of your priority list. It's this tone-deaf contrast between the severity of the allegations and their PR push that calls me to speak out on this. Keep in mind, this is their public position, the position of the chair of the university, the Don Corleone of Methodist University. This is their public position in the stance toward preservation of their student privacy rights. While their PA students' privacy rights rot in the background to rift about how shiny their medical school building is, and the board chair himself touting how excited the provost and the president are for their medical school. All this simultaneously while they are trying to dismiss my case. The provost and the president, both individuals whom I reported to in the paper trail, and the provost, the individual who admitted it in writing that she knew about the breach, it threads the following questions. What logic is preceding this institution? Am I fighting logic and reason or legacy? Suddenly, if truth flushes to the surface in October, I assume the PA students become a little bit more important than they are right now. I've received no formal notification from the university regarding the nature of the breach and what they did to protect our information. Only an admission within the email by the provost that it occurred in conjunction with the bad faith attempt at denial. Dr. Gupta goes on to talk about how shiny the building is and how amazing it looks on Village Drive, all while the plates are shifting beneath his feet. The medical school journey is on track and racing ahead, Gupta said Monday. The school building on Village Drive is on schedule and moving forward rapidly. It is an incredible sight driving on Village Drive, coming towards the hospital emergency room and then proceeding west. I had the opportunity to get up to the 7th floor Valley Pavilion at the hospital and look at it from the window up top. And it is an incredible view. A dream at one time and very soon to be a reality, Gupta said. As Mr. Nagowski, the hospital CEO, likes to say, If it were easy, everyone would be building a medical school, and I can second that. I do wonder how much of the board is endorsing this, and if they've realized that their own employee manual, in conjunction with the policy adoption process, ties every single one of them to my case. Regardless, I want to shift to the donors for a brief second. Correct me if I'm wrong, but the donors are entitled to know if their investment is at risk. I, of course, am not able to verify if the university informed them or not, but as a course of action, I did want to reinforce and stress the importance of informing them of this situation, especially with a donor like Duke Endowment flooding $1.5 million into their piggy banks for the medical school. Moreover, you got Golden Leaf Foundation, who has given them $8 million, and of course there's other families as well, who I hope you've informed, as the vote is mid-October for the LCME, right? For me personally, I've already come to terms with the fact that it appears that I'm fighting legacy and time rather than facts. If the bet is attrition or time, though, eventually they will run out of it. And for some reason, instead of getting ahead of it, they're willing to risk the accreditation of their PA school, cast the PA students to the wayside, and all to chase a vote for a medical school while chalicing the same officials who had admitted knowledge of the diffuse federal privacy violation, all while appearing to defer the duty to inform. Such a degree of compliance must be consistent across all regulatory governance as it's federal law. Though you can't get damages for the isolated claim, if the preceding duty is neglected, then compliance is neglected across regulatory bodies. To me, this is common sense and knowledge, the one thing I don't appear to be bucking heads with right now. Lucky for the institution, the Board of Trustees for Methodist University now has their chair, Dr. Gupta, a lone man, public-facing, endorsing the officials, a part of the case, and plowing onward, meaning they also have a narrow gap after October to at least attempt to save their PA school, or act like they care about it. Simply from measuring the tone of the article, it does not seem as if the university itself is comfortable with its own standing with regards to accreditation for their medical school from the LCME. And that it's almost as if they're more invested in PR locking in a guaranteed vote and overpromising if things go south. I don't know, are these Dr. Gupta's decisions alone, or is this a Board of Trustees consensus? I would have rather just kept this entire legal matter quiet. However, the university has decided to fight me in an ocean of sinking lava while dragging me through the volcano, so I don't really have a choice at this point. And if I'm going to get dragged, I'm not going to get dragged quietly. The university has space to say if they issued a formal notification or not. Remember that the formal notification does not involve off-the-record lecture fireside chats. There are still students who were present in the breakout room during that day who have not notified me of any formal notification being received. That notification has to be a good faith consensus that the information was breached and of the nature of the breach. Not that it was shared but not breached. That would be a cover-up in its truest sense, and parroting back what the provost said to me. I, for one, think it would be unethical to let an entire cohort of students graduate without receiving formal notification, so I do hope the university fulfills that obligation by December at least. You have to understand, a lot of these students are not aware of their rights. Once that line is crossed in December, if there hasn't been formal notification issued to the affected students, by the time they graduate, you'd be lucky to find a way back. I mean, to me personally, this is egregious. Quite honestly, I don't understand the university's position on this. Like, the fight isn't getting them to admit that the Social Security information was breached. The provost already said it in writing. That's not the fight. Students have already corroborated it. People are just waiting to see if their governance is even capable of upholding the legal duty they're charged with to inform if they haven't. If you can't do that, well, do you think you deserve a PA school or a medical school or even an institution at all? It's not your rights to withhold. It's the students' rights. That's why laws exist. The university doesn't know everything that's shifting under their feet. They don't know what scope their documents are under. And for the next few weeks, I won't either. And quite honestly, I'm hoping what's next won't capsize the asphalt. My stance on this matter with the case law present, this case is likely not going to get dismissed, and the burrow only gets deeper. Perhaps they have a chance to shave off some damages, I don't know. I think more of that should be probably left up to the jury. I want to pivot and transition for a moment. I'd like to ask kindly if the university's officials are still poking around my LinkedIn account to stop doing that. Kind of invasive, especially being that the official who I caught doing that has their signature on my dismissal letter. You know who I'm talking to. The only reason I'm not posting that is because I have some sense of common decency. Plus, there's nothing on LinkedIn anyway. I don't know why you're looking there. And it sort of gives me the sense that you're looking at a lot of my other profiles too if you're doing that. Now, TikTok, of course, TikTok is like a whole nother beast. And I can say that there are some metrics that give me the confidence to say that in a general sense, people are not happy with the matter. Even with just having the information of me being dismissed 14 days after reporting the breach to the NCDOJ leads me to believe that it's possibly a reflection of the general population at hand. I mean, it's sort of like personal, right? I guess. I mean, it's public information, right? It's publicly accessible, but it's strange to have the people on the other side of, you know, the legal defense or whatever, looking at the other party's, you know, account. That's kind of weird. So I'm not crawling over your accounts. Could you please tell your people to stop crawling over mine? I need to talk about one single thing in particular filed in this motion to dismiss by their counsel, as I believe that doing so is necessary to defend my reputation, as this is a public filing and I will not let something that I believe will carry direct reputational harm be filed without rebuttal, so no harm or foul. It's just that these are public filings, so there should be no issue publicly standing behind what one files and behind their actions. I personally do not appreciate this filing, which appears to willfully ignore the context surrounding the claim on your screen, as it leaves my own reputation exposed. If their counsel is referring to the email they cited for my dismissal where I say I will give you the acknowledgement you require to crutch his argument, it is my opinion that he's being willfully blind to the words that preceded this statement, which were under the threat of dismissal and without any discourse, and the context as well. This, in my strong opinion, was a coerced statement which can objectively be mapped by the policy that had me boxed in which I will proceed to show you. Any prior statements that would lean on such a structure within an argument in any similar context are absolved by the video they have in their possession in a similar note. According to the university's PASC report on February 5th, they perceived me as breaching one of their ambiguous and enforced policies. I would essentially be dismissed immediately. They required me to meet with the exact same 3 people I met with prior to being sanctioned to admit my behavior was inappropriate and make a plan to move forward. Keep in mind that after the first meeting that got me sanctioned in the first place, I was subject to a mental health evaluation that appears to be retroactively clawed back and cited from an email I sent 2 days prior to that meeting, which was chopped up and broken up with ellipses and leveraged to make me get an evaluation of my ability to function in tight spaces and for anger management. You can go see the first video for full context. This, of course, was after I brought up the social security number breach. However, this apparently was not factored into the equation in my course of discipline, or at least appears not to be. Their policy simply unfurled and boxed me into an ultimatum. The statement says acknowledgement you require, not the acknowledgement I agree with. I worded that carefully and consciously on purpose, and I'm sure their party knows the distinction. Take a look at the university's further guidance report, and you tell me if perhaps they missed a cue. Attend a meeting with student affairs as well as Mrs. Martin, Mrs. Page, and Mrs. Harden to acknowledge your actions and inappropriate behavior and make a plan to move forward. That's not giving me free will and a choice. And the PASC report I got on February 5th before that states, you will be placed on non-academic probation due to your egregious behavior demonstrated through both verbal and written communications. Although this is your first reported professional behavior issue, the behavior demonstrated is incredibly concerning and warrants an elevated level of recognition of violation of standards of conduct. Further non-academic violations result in immediate dismissal. Further non-academic violations will result in immediate dismissal from the program. Not adhering to the PASC further review document would constitute as a non-academic violation, as it would give them the recourse to ambiguously and selectively decide that I was not following their rules, and thus was subject to non-academic discipline again. Some of these rules which cannot even be found in their own student handbook, but that's a concern for later that will be addressed. Of course, all this occurred, even the sanctioning, after I reported the breach both in person and to multiple officials. In fact, almost every single email, I believe except one, has me mentioning concerns about the breach leading up to my dismissal. Even the email they cited for my dismissal has me mentioning the breach. Instead, they cited the tone of the email, so that everyone just simply look past the breach and just close in on the tone. It seems selective to me, extremely selective. Anyway, the way their stuff is written, if they so much as perceive subjectively that I was refusing to follow their rules, whether or not some of the rules truly existed, of course, still being up in the air, then I would be dismissed immediately. I'm not getting into the thick of things here, but the very few people I reported the breach to and who had prior knowledge of the breach both stamped their names on my dismissal. Within 17 days of my reporting to them and 14 days of reporting to the NCDOJ and other high officials. I already have ethical concerns with people who defend this without bare minimum fulfilling the duty to administer formal notification per state law if that duty has not been fulfilled. Though that is the right and the decision and sole decision of that firm to defend these facts, their client, and opt for inaction and or action. I think it's getting misconstrued that this case is somehow just sort of segregated and isolated to me. You're talking about a whole cohort of students. Some of the actions the university has taken following my dismissal may have even given them recourse to file cases on their own once they get informed of their rights or get dragged into my case. Logically, it doesn't even make sense for them to force that requirement in the first place. Regarding that further guidance requirement that they wrote that said I had to meet with these 3 people again and acknowledge my behavior was inappropriate, which I never even got to meet with them again, logically, it doesn't even make sense for them to force that requirement in the first place, since they claimed the whole basis for sanctioning me the first time was unprofessional behavior. So why did they need me to meet a second time, especially since that was apparently their basis for deciding it the first time? My opinion is it's because the institution and its proxies are drunk off power and control. I'll be showing up to the hearing should this surface, though I don't think it will, because motion to dismiss hearings are usually just restricted to legal basis alone, from what I understand. Just to give the public some insight, here's the firm that filed a notice of appearance for the university. I will not name their attorney on record as I have no motive to target, but to simply inform, though that information should be public record as well. Now, it is my personal belief that you should be proud of what you defend and of the people you defend. If you believe you're ethically, objectively, and morally still aligned with the rule of law and your clients are too, then there should be no issue within that regard. So just know that there are no hard feelings here, simply a diametrically opposed scope of morals between our views of right and wrong, which is fine and okay. Obviously, I have to defend myself here because these are public-facing records, and while the motion to dismiss doesn't typically argue the facts as I understand it, their party is leveraging this within their motion to add credibility to their claim, and full context is needed. So just to put things in perspective, I am currently fighting a board leader who relishes officials in the public sphere who admit to federal privacy violations and concurrently push forward timelines for new medical school projects while appearing to defer the duty to inform, an institution who, in my opinion, is reinforcing its incapacity to hold its own officials accountable through self-governance, and what I mark as a 60-day stall strategy. Also, their client, the university, can chase a vote that they aren't even guaranteed to get. I could be wrong about everything, of course, and if I am, then I will eat crow, but here's where I am today. Moreover, I will be forwarding this to City v. Fayetteville to test their journalistic integrity and whether or not they function to preserve journalistic integrity by integrating the facts holistically or are more involved with protecting the interest of Fayetteville. Here's the public-facing case number to verify in the upper left corner here of your screen. I think we'll have a ton more updates coming for you in the future and an introduction to some new content on this channel as well. Here comes the spin. Legal battles are expensive, though it does not matter the price to me at this point, as I am willing to drive myself into debt to achieve my justice. Though we're not there yet, they will likely try to stall things out procedurally and bury this. Well, they won't be able to bury it because I'm creating a forever record, but I request your donations to support the fight if you are interested. I'm not just fighting for me, I'm fighting to protect future students from institutions that I believe retaliate and bury the truth. Even donating $5 gets us closer to that goal. Go to the link at the bottom of this video to donate to the GoFundMe and help me fight back and set a precedent. We've already turned out $550, which is pretty good, and I want to commend the donors who have committed to that much. I won't stop fighting unless you do first. Please share this with your friends, family, City View, North Carolina, and local media to ensure that all wings are holistically informed. If you can, please contribute, and if you can't, then please speak up about this, because what happened to me can happen to anyone. On a lighter note, I also have a writing channel where I make writing tips and world building videos. We are 637 subscribers and counting. If you're interested, go check out the channel Fiction and Reality in the link below, and I'll see you on the next one.